All right, we're here talking about Universal. We just came from Epic. We're going to be talking about Universal Studios and also Islands of Adventure. And I thought we'd start off with rolling into the parking area. And I have with me the Quest team. So I am Jason Quest, my wife Elizabeth Quest.
Hello.
And my son Jacob Quest.
Howdy.
So rolling into the parking structure, it was pretty self-explanatory. It was pretty quick, pretty easy. You just look for the green lights, for the booth that's open, and they get you in pretty quick. Also, I like that there were enough people to kind of guide you. I did get lost going into the parking structure a little bit, but there was somebody there to guide us around, which was nice. A little bit different than Disney's approach, which we'll talk about probably either now or a little bit later. But anybody else have any how they felt about rolling into the parking area there?
Yeah, with Universal, it was pretty well run. You had enough of a crew there that they can guide you in. You were parked in pretty close enough that you could easily walk into the park. You did have to walk through the opening attractions, such as City Walk, but otherwise, it wasn't too much of a hassle to get into the park.
And they had elevators, which was great,
Yeah.
especially for wheelchair. How did you feel about it, Elizabeth?
Well, when we went to Epic has the park has an attached parking garage, which was super convenient. It's not like Islands or even Disney, where Disney has acres of parking. They at Epic, the parking was right there, and it was multi-level, and there were elevators, which is great for a wheelchair. And then at Islands, it was more, quite a bit of parking, but very well marked. Lots of people to guide you, and the access into the admitting area was pretty clean. By clean, I do mean, yes, there wasn't any trash, but I mean it was very, very well connected, very well engineered, thought out, well designed.
One of the things that I found too, when coming up from the elevator, that was great as far as pushing the wheelchair, which myself and Jacob both were the wheelchair pushers in this case. Is the people movers, and I did mention this in my last video, that don't put the wheelchair on the people mover unless it's stationary. Otherwise, it's very difficult to get it off of the people mover because there's a bump at the very end, and I actually got stuck, and I had to kind of back up as we pop a wheelie with the wheelchair and then get it over.
I think that both Universal and Disney have a map app. When you are in the parking area, it does not pick you up. It doesn't pick you up till you're in the gates. And it'd be great. It would track you and say, this is where your car is.
I will actually add a point to that as well. It needs a proper arrow indicator telling you which direction you need to go. On the Universal map, when you have a dot which tracks where you are in the park, it has an arrow attached to it which will move in free time. With Disney's app, it didn't have this. What it had was the light cone in front, which is impossible to see when you have your phone out in the bright Florida sun.
So we got through the ticket area. Because we had Express, we didn't do Express, and it doesn't work at Epic, not yet anyway. We use Express at Universal and Island Adventure. They do ask for that Express card. So what we did, we carried lanyards. And I have the barcodes out on one side, but I also have the tickets to get in on the other side. And they did, in at least one case, one of the rides, they asked for both. I really like the Express. It really did speed things up. What slowed everything down was the amount of people. I tried to do Hagrid, that was shut down, so I think we went to Velocicoaster. So I think we showed the Express Pass, and they moved us right through. But the moment that they saw that we had a wheelchair, both Universal, but really Epic, were on top of this. They saw you, they immediately went up and talked to you, which is different when you go to the website. The website, it really feels like it feels like don't come. Like we were expecting really to be ignored or to told, it was going to be really tough, and it wasn't. So it was nice.
To Velocicoaster, they identified me right away and said, "Can you transfer? Can you take a few steps?" When the answer is yes, then what they do is take you a different route. They expressed us up anyway. They expressed us up the elevator, and they bypassed a lot of the line, and that was really nice. Unexpected. So that worked really well, and they were very helpful about parking the wheelchair and getting out and helping you get in if you needed it, helping you get out if you needed it. They would slow things down if they needed to. They were very considerate. It wasn't much of a line, and it had been such a good experience.
Yeah, and again, we hadn't expected any of this. Again, we really thought it was survival of the fittest, just because of the way it was on the website. But not only were they kind to Beth in the wheelchair, but also her guests. In this case, the pushers, and we were allowed to keep our stuff on the chair. So we took everything off, put it on the chair, and they wonderfully took that chair and put it off to the side. And then wherever the ride ended, wherever you get off of that ride, the chair was there. So they moved the chair to get to the end. I don't know how difficult that was for them. I hope it wasn't too bad, but that was a great experience. I think was it Velocicoaster we had to use lockers of Velocicoaster.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
Velocicoaster, they have a locker policy for the roller coasters, that everything that you have on that could fly off, anything that's in your pockets, everything has to go in a locker. And then they bond you, they check you down.
With Hagrid's, it was a long wait, so we went, and there is no express on Hagrid's, and it was a long wait. But the wonderful thing was, this was the reason why we brought the chair, was so that Beth didn't have to stand, and so she got to sit and move through through the queue without having to feel that pain, and that was the whole goal. And I think it was great. You really, if you're going there with a chair, you can't be in a hurry. You could try, but something's going to happen. The big one, you're going to hit a gap. The gap being the wheel won't go over it, and then the person in the chair is going to be lurched forward, and you hopefully don't tip the chair completely over. You cannot be in a hurry. It's not going to happen.
And we have a small wheelchair. It is more narrow than a wheelchair that can be self-propelled. This is entirely a push wheelchair, and it's pretty narrow. And we picked it out because it was pretty narrow, because we needed it not to take up too much room at the parks, but also in the car when we're driving.
Mostly at Disney. The Falcon ride specifically. If you're in a self-propelled chair, there was one point they got stuck. They couldn't get through that area right at the corner, and someone had to come in, and it was probably their companion that was with them, and kind of lift the chair and bring it around. Another reason why we chose this type of chair, non-self-propelled, because of those issues. Any type of self-propelled chair tends to be a little bit larger, a little bit longer, definitely heavier, and so having a push chair does make things a lot easier, or having one that you can propel yourself with your arms, that makes things a lot easier.
One thing I will bring up, a concern that we had was whether or not we'd be able to get the chair into specific rides, if we would have to mount stairs or not, and when we were prepared to break the chair down and carry it. Fortunately, this never happened. There are enough ramps built in and around the rides that we were able to just roll the chair right on up without any issues.
It was pretty steep in some places. They had to muscle it up, but
yeah, be prepared for hills inside the queues of the rides. The Harry Potter train that went back and forth from the parks, we only did it one way, and same deal. We rolled up there. They had her. They asked if she could walk from the chair, or step up, or do stairs. They all did this at every park. They were prepared for it. It was great. And they took the chair and put it onto the train, and then she had to walk onto the train herself and into the compartment. We sat down, and then the chair went with us on the train. And the same thing, they brought the chair down for us, and then we set it up, and then locked everything, and off we went. So the train was pretty easy. I don't think that there were any rides that really were an issue, just other than trying to navigate the difficulty of the queue lines, and some were better than others. I think the next one after the train, I think we went on to it was either Greek Gods or it was
Greek Gods. It was with the dragon.
And also the Hogwarts Castle. So we did both of those, and again, those were not an issue at all. We were able to get in and look at the queue, and because the queue is very long and there's a lot to see, which was wonderful. There were times when we pulled the chair off to wait, and we just let people go through so we could see it. We already had express; we weren't worried about the time. But I have a suspicion that they were watching us. The cast members knew that we had left one area. I think they were waiting for us on the other end. We didn't realize this, but they were cool about it.